Welcome everyone to episode 94 of Raw Sport. My name is Ahmed Al Houli, and we are back with another banger of an episode with a very special guest, with the man himself, Mr. Robert Garcia. Welcome to the show, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
My utmost pleasure, sir. Rob, I mean, you were a world champion. You're a trainer of many world champions. You're an esteemed member of the sport, boxing family, boxing lineage. You've been in the sport for a very, very long time. The sport is going through an interesting transformation right now. And we've heard from many people what they think this change or transformation is. But we need to hear more from people who've been there, done that for with a proven track record for many, many years. And you're definitely one of those people. So what is going on? What's happening?
Well, look, I know that there's a lot of people that might not like what's going on, the way boxing's been changing, with new promoters and people getting involved with boxing, trying to change boxing around where they want to have one belt and everything. But me as a trainer and manager of multiple fighters, I think I think having different belts is a good idea. Why? Because I have a lot of fighters, and if I could make an an interim champion that's gonna make a lot of money, world title fight paydays, then I'm okay with the interim titles. If there's if there's a change in the weight divisions, because I know there's also something that is being pushed for, where they only want to go back to a lot less weight divisions, like eliminate all the juniors. Well, me as a trainer and as a manager, I rather keep it the way it is, because I could have more opportunities for my fighters. The paydays have been different also. So there's a lot of changes, a lot of new things, a lot of new people involved in boxing, uh, that are doing really good for boxing. But I think we need it all. I think we need these new people involved, because the fighters are getting a lot more money, getting paid is much better than anywhere else. But we also need to have the belts, the organizations, because you know all fighters that have a belt, especially a world title belt, even if it's an interim title, they're already making double the money. I have a fighter who's fighting for the interim IBF lightweight title, in his next fight, and his purse is already double from what he's already making. Where if it would have been just a regular fight, he'd be making good money, but half of what he's going to get paid, just because it's an interim title. So I think there's a lot of changes, but it all depends on who you ask, man. I'm happy with the way it is, the way it's working with different belts, organizations, because I have fighters with every organization. I have, like I said, this fighter that's gonna fight for the interim IBF title, but then I also have fighters that are champions at the WBC. I have fighters that have been champions at WBA, WBO. So for me, I'm happy the way it is too.
So, what do you say to those that will come back and say, Robert, but with so many belts in the sport, it makes it very hard to follow for regular fans.
It is it is difficult, but regular fans, they see somebody with a belt, and it doesn't have to be a world title belt. Somebody with the silver WBC silver belt, and it's already a nice belt. It's a belt that looks just like a world title belt. So people want to see it. People are happy. Fans are happy. Fans think they're already world champions. I think, I'm saying it because I'm a trainer and I have 30 plus fighters. I want all my fighters to have a belt. I want all my fighters to be world champions, but not all of them are going to be world champions. But some of them could be interim champions. Some of them could be silver champions, diamond champions, regular champions, and their purses are going to change to a point where I'm telling you, double their purses. So me as a trainer, as a manager, I'm okay the way it is.
So, how do we explain to the regular person again? Because boxing has its enthusiasts, but for the sport to grow and prosper, you need the regular person involved as well, right? There's a common sentiment where people say these sanctioning bodies are just creating the belts for more money, right? More sanctioning fees. Yes, the fighter is making more money, but he also is paying more sanctioning fees, right?
Oh, 100%. There is sanctioning fees, but to any fighter who is making double the purse, the sanctioning fees should be fine with him if he's getting that opportunity to fight for a world title or an interim world title. It's still he's fighters end up paying a percentage of their purse, but it's still going to be better off than what they were making before. They're still going to make double the money. So a small percentage is any fighter is going to prefer that. So like I said, I'm in the side of a trainer manager, a trainer that trains 30 plus professional fighters, and a trainer that has a gym with 200 kids that one day could be challenging for a world title. So I'm okay with it.
All right, there you go. We've seen an influx of money come into the sport before. You've been around for a very long time, and probably the last time this sort of money came through, you had a pretty solid stable. So your fighters benefited from that. But what people say and what people are saying now is this has happened many times over the years, right? Where people come in with a ton of money, they push the sport, they pay fighters more, then they disappear. Then people are saying it hurts fighters, right? Do you agree with that sentiment? How do you see it? Because you're on the ground.
Look, the way it is like I said earlier, is depending on who you're asking. Look, if we go back to, what was it, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago, could be a little bit longer, when Al Heyman came around with all that money. Well, all the fighters that signed with him, they're happy for what he did to them. He changed a lot of lives. Fighters that were not making that kind of money. And I could tell you personal, from personal experiences. Abner Mares, Leo Santa Cruz. Leo Santa Cruz was a fighter that I managed, and I first signed him with Top Rank, and he got released after a draw. He had a draw and got released. Then he ended up with Golden Boy. But then once he went to Al Heyman PBC, he made more money than he ever expected to make. Abner Mares, same thing. I'm just telling you those two because I know personally that their life changed. So he's going both. If you ask them, they're both going to tell you that's the best thing that could have happened to boxing. But then there's those promoters, there's those fighters that were never able to make that kind of money, or managers that were never able to work with any of their fighters with PBC. Then maybe they're not happy. Maybe they're not happy because they were not part of it. But those that took advantage of it, including my brother Mikey, they're happy. They're happy because they made more money than they would have ever made with anybody else. So me being part of Abnormalities, I wasn't part of Leo Santa Cruz at that time anymore. But he's a great person, a great friend, and I'm happy for how his life changed. My brother Mikey was part of it. So guys like Danny Garcia, that were with PBC their whole careers, that they're not going to tell you that they're not happy. They were happy because they made a lot of money. So right now, then a few years later, Eddie Hearn came around also with his own, with a bunch of money, paying fighters crazy money. Everybody was happy there. Right now, the Saudis, Turkey, Al Sheikh, he's doing the same. Fighters are happy, man. I'm happy because I've already had, you know, a couple trips to Saudi, and my fighters are making two times more than what they'd be making here in the United States. So, you know, I'm happy. My fighters are making a lot of money.
It's actually refreshing to hear that because at the end of the day, it's the fighters that are sacrificing themselves to go
Are you
out
there?
there, putting
Could you
their
hear
bodies
me?
on the line. Yeah, yeah, we've got you, Robert. We, can you hear me, Robert?
Uh, could you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I lost. I think you froze on me.
Yeah, I can still hear you. All right, maybe we'll
Are you
bring
there?
him back on. Yeah,
Oh, so
one sec. Unfortunately, he must have got the phone call. We'll bring him back on. Let's see. Robert,
hello,
yeah,
man. That sucks.
can you hear me, Robert?
Was it me or was it you?
It was you. Give us a sec there. We'll see if we can get Robert back on. Well, as we just got into it, unfortunately, he got a phone call. So we'll give him a second, and then we will get him back on. Here we go. He should be back on any second. Unfortunately, that was a bit of a disruption. Yep, here he is. Perfect.
Could you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Oh,
Can you?
oof.
Okay,
I lost you
perfect.
for a minute. Okay,
Yeah,
could you hear me now?
I can hear you, my man. Just put your
Perfect.
phone.
Sorry.
Just put your phone on do not disturb. That's why. So
Yeah. Well, I had it in do not disturb, but it
you're
is.
all right. Awesome. Let's keep going. So if I'm going to, if I'm going to, you still there, Robert?
I'm here. I could hear you, but I cannot see you.
Yeah. For some reason, your screen's gone. Jesus. I don't know. See if we can bring
God.
you back on. Quite unfortunate. We've had these technical difficulties with Robert Garcia. He was just getting into the conversation, and out he went. All right, he's back again.
Could you hear me?
We got you, sir. We
Okay.
got you.
Sorry.
All right, let's get straight back into it.
Okay.
It's if I'm going to summarize what you've said, you've taken us through a few different stages where the money's been injected back into the sport, right? You've had, and we've seen that it's positively impacted fighters, right? And
Correct.
you're a man on the ground. You have been for many years. So, in terms of the fighter compensation, it's been great. Now, my question to you is: has it hurt the growth of the sport?
I believe it has because of that reason, the promoters paying their fighters the money they're making, and and not wanting to deal with each other. We haven't been we don't see the fights that we would like to see. We don't see the fights that that a real boxing fan, a real boxing person would like to see. There's a lot of fighters that are happy with who they are, and they're making a lot of money, but they haven't gave us the fights that we would like to see. It does. That's something that has me as a boxing fan. I would like to see. There's so many fights out there that we haven't been able to because of the just because of that reason. Promoters, having their own deal with their fighters where they're not fighting each other. And that as a boxing fan, there's so many fights I would love to see.
Boxing in the UK is flying. I mean, by all accounts, anyone you ask, they tell you the same thing. It's prospering. There's a lot of big fights happening, big shows. They sell at 100,000 people arenas, so on. In the US, people say it's the opposite. Unfortunately, we're not seeing what we once saw in its glory days, the Mayweather days with the big fights and the big occasions and the festivities. Canelo, to a certain extent, he's been now extracted out to different parts of the world. You've just mentioned the whole promoter issue. Has that been the reason why the US has suffered so much, in your opinion?
I believe so. Look, in the 80s and 90s, we used to have big fights. Sugar Leonard, Hagler, on regular TV free channels. Nowadays we're never gonna see that anymore. Uh, we used to have pay-per-view events with all four pay-per-view fights, world title fights, champion versus champion. The best fights we want, the best fights out there were being made. It doesn't happen. That doesn't happen anymore. It's very hard to do that. Uh, the big purses now with the big paydays. There's been the last couple shows we've seen a lot of fights that are being made that that are doing what the 80s and 90s used to do, but not every promoter's involved. They are bringing in fights that are great, that are very very good fights, and that maybe wouldn't be happening in the states if promoters were working together, because no promoter is going to pay each fighter 15, 12, 15, $10 million per fighter. Right now, the main star gets the biggest cut, and then the opponent gets a very small portion. It's difficult to make those fights, and that's a problem here in the United States. I know other countries. You mentioned the UK. Boxing is probably number two sport in the UK. When it comes to boxing in the United States, there's sports that us Mexicans, we probably never even heard of, that are higher, that get higher numbers when it comes to ratings than boxing. And it shouldn't be like that. you know uh that has changed. And I know, you look, the UK, there, or in Europe, there's a belt, Commonwealth or something, right?
Commonwealth title, yeah.
If you become Commonwealth champion, you're a hero, you're an idol, you're a superstar in England and the UK, right?
Yeah.
Here in the United States, nobody even knows about that belt. Here in the United States, if you become national champion, nobody knows and nobody cares. Nobody really cares if you're a national champion. When in the 80s, in the 80s, early 90s, being a national champion was a big deal. National champion was a big deal. I remember my dad has told us stories about national champions in Mexico. Huge. They would sell out arenas in Mexico. They were just national champions. Right now, nobody in boxing could mention national champions in Mexico, national champions in the United States, because nobody cares. Nobody cares about those belts anymore. So it does it sucks to say it, but that it's hurt boxing.
So, if I'm going to take something from what you've said, is that these biggest belts and sanctioning organizations have pretty much killed national um, the national boxing ecosystem when it comes to that heritage that America once had for its national champions.
There's there's so many belts out there, like we're talking about, and that's probably what's hurt the ratings, the views. But when it comes to purses, fighters are making a lot more money now. Like I'm telling you, I was telling earlier, you have an interim champion making double, literally double what they've been making in this previous fights. Even though they've been making really good money, just because it's an interim title, they're already getting money that world titles pay. So it had it has hurt the fans, the ratings in TV. The pay-per-views numbers are very, very low compared to the 90s, when every big fighter used to do at least a million pay-per-views. Right now you're lucky if you do 300,000. It's just the way it's the reality. But even if, fighters still making a lot of money. You know when it comes to business wise, like I told you earlier, I'm okay with it because my fighters are fighting, and they're all making very decent money. So I can't say I'm mad about it either.
So if we're going to go off what I've heard from you in this episode, that fighters are making great money. Now, incoming this new TKO boxing league, UFC style, biggest criticism has been about the UFC that it doesn't pay like boxing does, right? And that's what everyone's like. It's common. It's a common thing that people talk about. So
Right.
then, how are they going to transition? Like, in your opinion, how they're going to attract the fighters that are making already decent money to come and fight for less money in this new boxing league?
I don't think it's going to attract all the fighters that are already making great money, because if you see, they already publicly announced the purses that they're going to
Mm,
make.
mm,
Well,
mm.
I have, you know half of my fighters, that I have, are definitely not going to go that direction, because they're already making a lot more money than what we've seen on, all over social media, all over the news. We already seen the purses, and I already have half of my fighters that are already making that or much more. But then I also have another half that could take advantage of it, because they're still not there. And if Dana White was to ask me how many fighters do you want to sign up with me, I'll sign up a few, because I do have fighters that are not making that kind of money, and they want, for them, that's already a big jump, a big difference than what they're already making. So, like I'm telling you, I'm in both sides. I got to take both sides, because I have fighters on both sides, fighters that are already making a lot of money with what's going on with boxing, but I also have those fighters that are still looking for that opportunity, looking for that promoter to give them an opportunity. And if it's TKO with what they already announced, 10, 10, 10, at least 10 to 15 of my fighters would be very happy to sign with TKO.
Wow. So there you go. I mean, those that say it's good, bad for the sport, there's room for it. I mean,
There is room, because there's all those fighters. Look, I'm in a very popular boxing gym. I get a lot of people always visiting me for sparring and everything, asking me, can you help me get fights? Can you help me get fights with my fighter? Especially now that they know I have a relationship with Pro Box TV. A lot of people ask me. So there is room for somebody like TKO. There is room for Probox TV, who's making a big, they're making a lot of fights, at least two shows per month. The fighters are getting a lot of exposure on TV. They're making good money. So, like I'm telling you, I have 10 to 15 guys that are looking for that opportunity, that are looking for that one promoter to give them that opportunity. And there's 20 more that are asking for that favor, for me to give them, at least give them that push to get them to those promotions. So there is room, definitely.
the grassroots level in professional boxing, I believe, has been ignored for many, many years. And with that grassroots, you don't have your elite fighters because the platform just isn't there. Do you think we're seeing Pro Box TV come in and fill that middle tier, lower to middle tier in developing
Sure.
these fighters?
100%. if it wasn't for Pro Box TV, they're having 2 shows per month.
Hmm.
How many fighters would be sitting at home not getting fights? There's promotions, there's big promoters that are actually looking for Pro Box TV to put a lot of their young talent on Pro Box TV's cards, because they might not have all the shows on their networks or on the pay-per-view events to put all their fighters. So a lot of promoters are coming to Pro Box TV to use their system to develop their fighters. I think Pro Box TV is giving the opportunity to all those fighters that are under another promoter that are getting that opportunity to stay busy. I think Pro Box TV is also giving a lot of fighters that might already be on the side where a top promoter might not be too interested in signing them, but Pro Box TV is giving them their opportunity. A lot of young talent. Maybe sometimes they're not the amateur superstars to get a contract with any of the big promoters, but they're good enough for Pro Box to give them that opportunity. I think Pro Box TV is great for boxing right now, especially for all those fighters, like I'm telling you, that are already in a position where maybe top promoters might not want to sign them, or they're not ready for them. They're getting the opportunity with Pro Box TV.
Absolutely. Um, we have the three big organizations in America: PBC, Golden Boy, and Top Rank. You in the past have done business with a lot of them. At one stage, you had a stable that was doing a lot of work with Top Rank, and you've seen Top Rank over the years. What's your assessment? Obviously, I don't want to hurt any of your business interests here. What's your assessment on how Top Rank has reached where they are today? No TV deal, all these things that have gone from being top of the mountain to a place where really, really tough times for Top Rank.
Well, look, for over 60 years, Top Rank has always been one of the top promoters. I do really good business with them because, they know the fighters I have, and from my 16 world champions, I would probably say maybe 10 or 12 have all been top ranked fighters. I have a good relationship with them. I have a really good relationship with the matchmakers, Bruce Trampler and Brad Goodman. But everybody else makes me feel at home. But I have fighters with Golden Boy too. I have 3 or 4 fighters that are fighting for Golden Boy. I have fighters that fight for Matchroom also. With PBC, I also have a couple fighters that are with PBC. So I work with everybody. I think Top Rank will find, you know, if they don't if they already don't have it, they just don't announce it. But they've been the ones that have been around the longest. And I think they're smart enough, they're experienced enough to find the right home for themselves. They lost ESPN, but a few years back that everybody lost Showtime and HBO, and everybody found a home after that. I think Top Rank will do the same. They'll find a home. They have too many fighters. Their team is very, very experienced. They have very smart people that are running the business. So I'm pretty sure they'll, if they don't already have it, they just haven't announced it. They will have something pretty soon.
Do you think we're going to finally see all the big promoters working together in America?
I would love to. I would love that because, like I said, I work with everybody. I have a great relationship with all top 4 promoters here, including Matchroom, even though they're from England. They're here in the States also. I think I have a really good relationship with all 4. I would love to see that. There's so many fights that we would love to see, and me working with all of them, it makes it a lot easier for me too, because I know there's going to be a lot of fighters made between each other, where some of my fighters are going to be involved. So I don't have to worry about maybe one fighter fighting on one card with one promoter the same day, as another one, and I have to split up with my team. It sucks when that happens, but it does happen, where we have to split up. If they were all to work together, then it makes it a lot easier for me too. So I would love that. Plus as a fan, there's so many huge fights that I would love to see that we might not see because of that, because promoters don't work together.
Robert, in recent weeks, recent times, we've been hearing a lot of talk around the decline of the UFC, apparently. Do you think boxing's got something to do with that? Because boxing at the moment is dominating the headlines everywhere with what Turkey's doing and taking over different um, iconic sites around the world and making the big fights. Do you think we're seeing that resurgence that boxing needed?
I think it's something that boxing needed. Do I think it's bringing up Canelo, him going to Saudi, of course he's gonna make so much money out there. But you know, those big fights like that, especially Canelo, he's the face of boxing, especially to all the Latinos. I think he belongs in Vegas. He belongs where all his fans are. I've been to Saudi a couple times already, and very little, if any, Mexicans, Latinos show up to the fights. So it is kind of weird. Is it a good experience? Yes, I enjoy it. It's fun. My fighters are making a lot of money, but it is different. It is very different. But it's we can't say no to it either.
Absolutely. All right. And we'll leave on that note. Robert, you've been very, very generous with your time. Before we wrap things up, any parting words?
Look, I just thanks for having me. I know boxing is in a situation where some people don't know how long it's gonna last or where it's gonna go. Right now, enjoy every fight that's been made. Enjoy the moment with my fighters. I'm doing my best to enjoy the moment with my champions that I have, my active champions, my soon to be champions, my former champions. Uh, right, just take the ride and enjoy it, because you don't know we don't know how long this is going to last. And as long as it lasts, we just got to take advantage of it. So I just want to let boxers know, not just my fighters, enjoy the ride and take advantage of the moment, because right now boxing is a great moment with so much huge paydays. Just enjoy
Make
it.
the most of it.
Exactly, make the most of it.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Robert Garcia, thank you very much for joining me on Raw Sport. Take care, everyone. We'll catch you on the next
Awesome,
episode.
thank you.